Welcome to the Calder Farmstead.
Now the Ice Hogs back out to center in transition. Carlson with Quenneville 2-on-1. Right when Carlson comes, Quenneville scores!
Here's a chance for Barron. Fighting scores! Off the face-off! Up it's Eminger. Pulled back to Werenski. Has it. Shoots one. Bounces off a man. 5 seconds left. Werenski. Another jam on the shot. Turning and firing. They go! Scores! They score! Now they catch each other. They both go right over the top. Matching rights to one another. McDermott gets the helmet off of Cassie.
And now with 9 minutes gone in overtime, the Bears breaking out right side with Bear. Looks like cutting to the net. Barron will score!
And here are your hosts, Cece and Sean.
Hello and greetings from the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado.
And Bedford, New Hampshire.
Oh, you're back in the States. Great. Welcome to the Calder Farmstead Podcast, episode number 84 for Friday, February 18th, 2022. If you were hoping for a podcast featuring a discussion of treatment options for livestock with frostbite, say that 10 times fast, we are not going to be much help. This is an American Hockey League podcast. My name is CC Hockley, the AHL editor of Full Press Hockey.
And I'm Sean O'Brien from StatsTrack and the AHL's only league-wide analytics guy.
And I know he hates me saying it, but he's kind of a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. Well, that's what I usually say at the end. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in with us. There we go.
And if you're new to hearing CC and I talk about hockey, we're going to preview some of the matchups in the upcoming weekend in the AHL for you. We both watch a lot of games and are going to talk about what we see when we watch the film, as well as use some advanced stats to help us break it down. If that's new to you, you may want to head over to our YouTube channel or podcast feed, wherever listening to us from. Scroll all the way to the bottom and check out episode 0. It's a short primer on some of the stats we're going to be talking about, as well as how we view what's important on the ice. So if you're new to some more of the advanced hockey stats terms like PDO or the point shares model, or some newer hockey terms like controlled zone entries, go check that out. So you better be able to pick up what we're putting down. I promise it's not that nerdy or technical. It's only 20 minutes. And let's be honest, you wasted 20 minutes reading about Megalopolis. You'll never get that time back. So next time, why not spend a little more time with us talking hockey?
If this were Jeopardy, the question would be, what is a director that has a lot of money that just wants to do their own thing without any backing and can't sell it to anybody? That's what Megalopolis is in a nutshell. But we're not a movie. We're not a film podcast. We're a hockey podcast. So
you did just save people 19 minutes and 45 seconds. So well played.
Hey, thank you, sir. Thank you. But hey, in the AHL, guess what? It's trade season, baby.
Trade season. Woo!
Trade season. Adam Johnson is heading east after getting traded from the Ontario Reign to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. And I was surprised the Belleville Senators weren't in on this trade because Lehigh Valley gave up future considerations. Yes. So Adam Johnson heading over to the Atlantic Division from the Pacific Division. Sean, what can the Lehigh Valley Phantoms expect from centerman Adam Johnson?
I mean, it's definitely been a difficult year for Johnson, who of his 28 games this season only has played on the top 2 lines in Ontario in about 7 or 8 of them. He even suited up a couple games on defense for the Reign when COVID problems had them shorthanded on the back end. When reinforcements from the Kings came down, he's been the odd man out of the lineup for a large portion of it. Maybe he's been injured for some of that. We never know. What are injury reports? But he's also struggled this year, and being a streaky scorer in his own right, that's hard to adjust to, especially Johnson's been buried on the depth chart. It's kind of hard to dig yourself out of scoring ruts when you're only getting, 12 minutes a night instead of 17, 18. He's also been horrifically unlucky this season in my viewings. Some of that is probably a rebound from last season when he shot 21%. He's not that good. Although this season he's shooting 2.4%, and well, he's not that bad. Pretty much no one is that bad.
No.
It wouldn't shock me to see him rebound in Lehigh Valley and do well. I do think from a individual evaluation perspective, he has a good skill set and has a lot of versatility in his game. He skates well, has a decent shot, and good but not great puck skills and playmaking vision. Defensively, he's competent and plays hard, but isn't outstanding defensively. I'd say slightly above average at best. Still, he's a useful veteran that Ian LaPerriere can throw over the boards in just about any situation and trust that Johnson is going to be able to handle business. Lehigh Valley needs more consistency on offense, especially as Mayhew and Frost are gone. Mayhew is injured with the Flyers. Frost just got called up again after, taking a nice cup of coffee in Lehigh Valley. But putting guys like Jackson Cates and Matthew Strome in the top six is by and large not really going to get the job done on offense. I don't expect him to light the world on fire for the Phantoms, but he should be able to produce reasonable offensive stats once he gets settled in, understands the systems they run there and how they're different from Ontario, because they are. But the Phantoms need that, though. So this is a good trade for them to pick up a useful forward for who knows what, but probably nothing that valuable.
No, futures, hardly any futures get a good return on it. But Sean, one last quick question on the Johnson trade here. I was talking a little bit to Samantha Weisner, who writes for FlyersNittyGritty.com and covers the Lehigh Valley Phantoms for them. And I asked her, I said, obviously she wasn't too familiar with Johnson because plays for Ontario, different conference, different division. Strike that, reverse it. But I asked her, I said, can you see Johnson filling in as like a top six forward, or, especially with his utility aspect of defense and everything like that? I mean, where do you see him plugging in, especially as a centerman? I mean, obviously being a center, there's only a handful of guys, but promoting the guys that you mentioned from the bottom six up to the top six, I can only assume Adam Johnson gets that top six, if not a middle six role.
I mean, I would expect him to play at least a middle six role. He plays center, but is, I think, better as a winger.
Okay.
He can do both, but I like him more as a winger. I feel like center is asking him to do in most cases, centers are asked to do a lot more than wingers in terms of the heavy lifting in transition and on defense. And he's competent there, but I think he's better letting, it fly as a winger a little bit more. That allows him to get up ice more, use his speed a little bit more in the neutral zone. I think that's a better fit for him. I having seen what the Phantoms have been putting out there for middle six forwards recently, if they're not putting him in the middle six, I don't know why. Like I said, Jackson Cates and Matthew Strome not getting it done to create offense in a top six fashion. So if he's not at least a second line winger, maybe not to start, start him in the third line, get him in the mix just so he gets some experience knowing how they run their systems in the offensive and defensive zone, that kind of thing. But I expect, once he kind of gets up to speed, he should be in their top six, unless there's some kind of weird, everyone comes down from the Flyers moment, but I doubt that happens.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we covered the one trade that occurred today in the league, and since our last episode, as it were, it's time to preview the weekend ahead of us. And of course, we're going to start with the Atlantic Division, and we're going to talk about the Springfield Thunderbirds, who, well, I won't spoil it. I won't spill the beans on this one. Their weekend, Saturday at Wilkes-Barre Scranton, 6:05 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday at Lehigh Valley at 3:05 p.m. Eastern. Sean's favorite in scheduling, the 05 at the end of those numbers.
Got to make sure you sneak in those 5 minutes.
Hey, got to keep a buffer in there, I guess. I don't know. But Sean, the T-Birds are hot right now. They've won 4 of their last 5. And what do you see as the big driver behind the success that Springfield has right now?
2 big things. Number 1, goaltending. Chucky Sideburns has been great, and while Joel Hofer has certainly had his share of struggles this season, he's given them quality starts at least half the time. That's, for a guy who you're, penciling in as your 1B kind of backup role, it ain't too shabby. More often than not, though, they've been fantastic in the third period in the last 5 games. Hofer has a .947 save percentage in the third over 2 of those starts. Lindgren has a .969 save percentage in 3 of those starts. That's not just fantastic goaltending. That's fantastic goaltending when it counts, when you need your goalies to make a save. They've stopped combined 49 of 51 third period pucks in those 5 games. That's phenomenal. Number 2 is the power play. They're 6 for 20 in their last 5 games and at least 1 power play goal in each game. Nathan Walker has done a solid job throwing his hat in the ring for best garbage man on the power play. We're actually not going to do a best garbage man award because of the insane amount of scouting and video and all of that stuff it would take to compile that list. But Nathan Walker is certainly up there in the Michael Marsh, Morgan Barron kind of territory of garbage men on the power play who can just put pucks home at the net front. And Sam Annis is finding his way too, and is starting to find chemistry with Walker in that spot. Annis finding some chemistry just in general, finding his groove in this Springfield system. From the beginning of the season to New Year's Eve, Sam Annis played 25 games, 5 goals, 11 assists, 16 total points. From January 1st, 2022 till present, 19 games played, 6 goals, 15 assists, 21 points. And this is a power play that added James Neal in the bumper spots, and he already has 2 power play goals. Neal does not have the ability anymore to play at an NHL pace, but it's not that long ago he was a 20-plus goal scorer in the NHL. Speed fades with age. Recovery speed fades with age. Shooting mechanics don't really fade with age. Just ask Alex Ovechkin. We talked last time when we checked in with the Thunderbirds about how this team kind of lacked that higher-end shooting talent element. Hugh McGinn can shoot, but getting him to those spaces and stuff like that has been more of a challenge. James Neal does not have those problems. At the NHL level, he's still an okay shooter. At the AHL level, he is a world beater with his shots. And on the power play, they get to add another high element as a certain tour is selling tickets for a pop-up show this weekend. Cece, would you mind queuing that up?
Oh, yes. Yes, I would. I kind of foreshadowed it a little bit. Didn't want to spill the beans on it. And Sean, I will say, usually we have terrible timing as a podcast. We've previewed weekend series that got canceled within an hour of the episode going up. We've deep dived players that have gotten called up. We've given season previews of guys who didn't make the team. This time, however, I feel like we got a break. We are covering the T-Birds right as the Scott Perunovich Pain Tour holds its farewell concert for the 2021-22 concert season. Scott Perunovich was sent down by the St. Louis Blues for a conditioning stint, meaning he'll be back in the NHL rather shortly, but he's here this week and this weekend. Remind folks, Sean, why the Scott Perunovich Pain Tour is thusly named and worth the price of admission.
I mean, it's named the Scott Perunovich Pain Tour for a very simple reason. He causes other teams the worst kind of pain there is. Not physical pain, but embarrassment. Mm-hmm. Scott Perunovich just plain crushes the AHL and embarrasses opponents and drives their coaches absolutely mad, especially on the power play. Scott Perunovich is 8th in the AHL in power play assists among defensemen. He hasn't played an AHL game since November 13th and is still 8th. Wow. That was 97 days ago. And he does that with high-end hockey IQ that has him seeing moves ahead in real time. Playmaking vision that has him finding seams that others just flat out can't. He makes it seem like he's using the overhead camera on NHL 22 while the rest of us are using the action camera. And his skating went from being a weakness in college to the point now it's actually quite good. Defensively, he's able to cut off plays in the neutral zone, and don't let his size fool you. There's physicality in there too. I, for one, am very excited for his farewell tour, and I'm sure the rest of the Atlantic Division is glad that this is what it is, a farewell, because teams are sick of playing against him.
And I'll tell you what, this isn't going to be like Kiss. They've had probably 4 or 5, final tours, farewell tours. The hottest band in the world. Yeah. The final tour. Yeah. I think their first one was like in 1991 or something like that. But anyway, it's not going to be that for Scott Perunovich.
The conditioning stint too is like actually part of the NHL CBA. He must be returned to the Blues within 14 days. So this really is a farewell tour. And yeah, there's the chance he gets sent back down again, but let's be serious here. He's been pretty decent at the NHL level as a young guy and is without a doubt not their, number 7 defenseman in terms of talents. He's still taking some time to get up to speed at the NHL because it's still the NHL, but he's way too good for the AHL and is not gaining anything by staying down there with the Thunderbirds besides dunking on fools. So he's going to go back to the Blues and stay there for the rest of the season, which, I mean, we knew that at the beginning of the season when we previewed the T-Birds. It's like, he's not going to be here long, guys, because this kid can ball. So enjoy him while you got him. And he's only going to be here for at least this weekend. I doubt he makes it all the way to next weekend, but it is theoretically possible. So Scott Perunovich Painter farewell tickets on sale now.
And, with that said, I do not have my car keys because my vehicle is in the shop. So you can't hear me dangle my keys in front of the mic as we go into Keys of the Weekend. However, we are going to talk about Wilkes-Barre Scranton and Lehigh Valley, opponents of the Springfield Thunderbirds. And Sean, how do the T-Birds come out with a victory against the Baby Pens or the Phantoms or both?
Against Wilkes-Barre Scranton, in 4 matchups this year against the Penguins, the T-Birds are 0 for 14 on the power play. We just talked about how nasty the T-Birds power play has been and should be this weekend because it's going to feature a disturbingly good top power play unit that should be McGing, Walker, Neal, Annis, and Perunovich. That's probably the best PP1 unit in the NHL right now because that features 2 guys that are clear-cut NHL talents, 2 pretty decent, AHL players, and 1 still fairly good prospect. That's a hell of a 5-man unit. And the Penguins' penalty kill is bad. So the fact that the T-Birds are 0 for 14 in those 4 games against Wilkes-Barre Scranton to date this year is strange, and that should not be able to stand. So in order for them to kind of make amends for that, they need to score some power play goals here on the weekend against Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Against Lehigh Valley, both games against the Phantoms this season, the T-Birds have come out hot. They've set the tempo, they've set the pace, they played their game from the first puck drop. They outshot and outchanced the Phantoms in the first period in those 2 games. They outshot the Phantoms 31-10 in those 2 first periods combined. They've won both games. Both the goalies that Lehigh Valley has right now, and Felix Sandstrom and Kirill Ustimenko, are both young and occasionally prone to letting bad first periods snowball. Get on them early, reap the benefits, win the first period, start hot. That's how you win these games this weekend and get dubs for the Springfield Thunderbirds.
All right. Well, with that said, it is time for our picks. And man, it's going to be hard it's going to be hard to pick against Springfield this weekend. So I'm going to call a Thunderbird sweep and call it good.
Yeah. I am not fond of picking Wilkes-Barre Scranton in weekend matchups because I don't think they're that good. They're, I believe, 1-5 in their last 6 games and haven't been that great, which we've known pretty much the whole time. The Phantoms at least seem to be getting some things right, but I still am not overall a big fan of their team. The T-Birds are hot. They have a ridiculous amount of talent on the lineup right now. I'm taking them to sweep. The model is obviously on our side. It sees the same things we do, if it had eyes. Springfield is a 56.6% favorite over Wilkes-Barre Scranton on Saturday and a 55.2% favorite over Lehigh Valley on Sunday. It is uncommon for a team to be that big of a favorite over someone else on the road. So there's a lot of that's not as big a percentage as you would think, but it's substantial given that they're on the road.
And of course, as we all pick the sweep, what's going to happen? They're going to drop at least one game. Right?
No, they're going to. If they're going to drop one, it's going to be to Lehigh Valley. Wilkes-Barre Scranton is not in a good place right now, and I don't think they're going to be in a good place soon. The only good thing that they have going for them is their kids seem to be developing, but the rest, like that blue line outside of P.O. Joseph, is womp womp.
Womp womp womp.
Yeah. All right, well, we are going to take a break here. After the break, we will head north of the border to talk about Toronto and Belleville. If you're just here for Springfield, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get our recap when it first comes out on Tuesday morning. Also, check us out on social media where we do the memes and have a lot of fun. All links to all of that and more can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to pay some bills, run some ads. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
1 series down, 3 to go. and of course the speed round to look forward to. But first, we head to the North Division. We're still in the Eastern Conference. We're going to talk north of the border here. We're going to go Toronto and Belleville, and they are going to play a split home and home series Friday at Belleville, 7 p.m. Eastern, Saturday at Toronto at 4 p.m. Eastern. Sean, the Marlies are running a 5-game win streak, and they look to be hot. I have been high on Toronto the past month or so. What's been behind their success?
Well, first, it's weird that a 5-game win streak stretches back into January, as the Marlies had 11 days between their last 2 games, which I understand there were, COVID things happening and attendance restrictions, and the Marlies are just like, you know what? Maybe we just don't play in front of 0 fans unless we absolutely have to. Regardless, their 2-week rolling estimated PDO has been over 102 since February 3rd and is now 111. Now, there are limited samples in that because most teams, play a handful of games every 2 weeks. And as we just said, the Marlies have not. Still, they've been on a PDO bender for most of 2022 so far. So they're getting good puck luck, but they're also a good team. And that's what happens when good teams get good puck luck. They look great. And that's what the Marlies have done. But the Marlies are a deep team. In this 5-game win streak, they have 24 goals from 14 different players. I want to repeat that. They have 24 goals from 14 different players. Their third line against Utica was Clifford, Suomela, Steves. That's a guy with 802 NHL games played alongside 2 players the model grades as first-line forwards on their third line. That's bonkers. The Marlies also have been spreading out their defensive talent so that one of Hollowell, Dusak, and Krall are always on the ice 5-on-5. When you can just roll lines like that and you're getting good puck luck and you've gotten better than league average goaltending, you're going to win games and have a good time. Oh, yeah. And Josh Hosang is coming back from the Olympics in the next couple days. So the deeper, this incredibly deep team is just getting deeper.
One of the names that you mentioned up there on that third line, Alex Steves, not a prospect on anyone's hot list at the start of the season, including ours, as he was left off of our season preview for the Marlies. So apologies, Mr. Steves. But he's currently third on the team in scoring at almost a point per game pace with 13 goals, 11 assists for 24 points total. The model rates him in the 92nd percentile with a first line forward grade. It happens. We miss sometimes in those season previews, and we sure did miss on that. It's hard. It's so hard to predict all this. But Sean, what does the eye test say about Alex Steves that we so clearly did not catch at the beginning, or at least in the 2021 offseason?
I mean, it's not like it was just us and everyone else was singing the praises of Alex Steves in September. No one was. No one. He was an undrafted free agent out of college. And he was good at college and good at a solid program in Notre Dame. But there are a lot of guys who came from that same program who had stellar stats there and didn't have an offense and didn't carry over offense like we thought they would to the AHL. Jake Evans is one of them. But yeah, it's been surprising how much of his offense from Notre Dame has carried over to the AHL, especially as a rookie. As we said, that's not typical. He has a lot of good pieces to his game, though, that I like. First and foremost is his shot. He can rip shots and has a surprising release on them. He's not an elite shooter in the way that, say, Nick Robertson is, but he can still beat goalies cleanly from distance at the AHL level. What adds to his shot, though, is the layers he puts behind it. He knows how to bait defenders and goaltenders by using deception and looking pass when he wants to shoot and shoot when he looks and looking shot when he wants to pass. And those two set each other up. He also is able to get open because while he doesn't have a good top speed that's impressive per se, his ability to go from kind of a straight leg coast to his top speed to kind of change gears that quickly. His second gear to top gear, turnover is really impressive. He knows how to time those bursts to blow past defenders that aren't taking him seriously or aren't able to match that speed acceleration that quickly. And that makes him able to use what is, again, not an impressive top speed, where he couldn't beat a defender at a straight foot race to his advantage to still get by defenders. And for a guy on the smaller end of the professional hockey player size chart, he protects the puck very well using his body. All of that together kind of adds to his ability to get a good shot off and add skills on top of it to make it more effective, even though his shooting mechanics are still just pretty good. Defensively, he's capable and occasionally can make big plays in his own zone. And when breaking down players in the past, we've talked about the difference between having raw tools and utilizing them well. And there's a laundry list of players who have amazing raw tools, but struggle to find, how to wield them the most efficiently and the most effectively. Steve's isn't quite the polar opposite of that, but he's in the ballpark. Like I said, he's not fast, but uses his speed well. He's not a high-end shooter, but has good mechanics and stacks enough outside elements on them to enable him to score. He's not big, but he protects the puck well. He's not terribly strong, but he can win battles in corners and at the net front with positioning and smarts. I don't know if he ever becomes an everyday NHLer, but the path to an effective third liner or fourth liner that I know Kyle Dubas definitely enjoys on a cheap contract, that path certainly exists for Steves right now, and maybe one that he realizes. But for right now, he's ripping up the AHL and has the advantage of a deep team in front of him, so he can play, matchups against other third liners that he should be able to win easily.
Yeah, we'll see if he moneyballs his way onto the Toronto Maple Leafs, shall we? All right, well, let's jump on over to Belleville. The B-Sens, they seem like they have a lot of good things going for them. They have a 4-game winning streak going on right now, but they have struggled to charge up the standings. They're in the very competitive North Division. Why do you think that is, Sean?
Well, much like we talked about the Marlies getting good puck luck, it seems like until the last week or so, the B-Sens couldn't seem to get any of it for themselves. They've gotten some recently, but they've been under 100 in the rolling estimated PDO charts since mid-January. Prior to that, it seems like when they got the offense going, the defense would fall flat. When both of those finally looked to be, in sync and doing the things they're supposed to, they'd get a dud from Sogard or Gustafsson. Special teams have also been very hit or miss for them. And while we talked about their power play the last time we checked in with Belleville and how much I don't like the structure of it, we don't really need to go and rehash that, but it definitely puts its thumb on the scale of things, of their ability to kind of maintain consistency and get offense on a regular basis. They've also played the Marlies a fair amount and are 1-6 on the season against them. So that's not helping the cause at all. They also play a schedule that features a lot of Atlantic teams, and only two of those are against Bridgeport, and a few are against Manitoba, who they caught at a bad time when Manitoba was peak of their powers in the middle of, I want to say, the end of last year. Whereas now Manitoba has none of its forwards, and they could probably roll them pretty good, as other teams have already done, like Abbotsford did last weekend. Right. They haven't played a hapless Cleveland team since November and don't play them again the entire season, which hurts them, as Cleveland is typically pretty awful when Jet Greaves isn't switched to Hasek mode. All in all, I still think Belleville is a good team, and I think they're going to make a charge up the North Division standings. But the schedule and some of their inconsistencies definitely have not done them any favors so far this season.
Shifting to individual skaters on the B-Sens side of things, Igor T10 Sokolov has been hot recently. He has 6 points in his last 5 games and has only been held off the score sheet 4 times since the calendar turned to 2022. That's pretty impressive. The model likes him as well, rating him in the 89th percentile with a first line forward grade. Sean, just like Alex Steves, what have you seen from Mr. T10 himself?
I mean, we nicknamed him the T10 after the Russian heavy tank last season, because his game was similar to the historical profile of the T10 Russian heavy tank. It's big and menacing. It's not going to be bullied around in tough areas. Wields a ton of firepower. Surprisingly agile in close quarters for a big heavy tank. But it doesn't have the speed to get to places quickly. That is the profile of both the tank and the hockey player. And I think Sokolov's skating has improved a bit since last season, but he's never going to have the speed to put defenders on his heels. Or, to put it this way, in order for him to get that kind of speed, he'd probably have to lose a lot of the good aspects of his game in the process, such as his heaviness on the cycle, his ability to play through contact, or his ability to put all of the weight and power he has into that shot, both his wrist shot and his one-timer. The big departure of Sokolov's game from the T10 is in playmaking. Sokolov has solid playmaking vision and can find tiny seams through traffic to teammates. Tanks don't really have playmaking vision. At least I don't think they do. The closest I ever got to Russian tank warfare is playing GoldenEye on the N64. So
going through the streets.
Oh
after the
yeah,
archives
shoot the
level.
mines.
Yep.
Run over people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just completely blow the Russian soldiers to smithereens with, just one tank bullet, as it were, just completely eviscerating. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. You got me throwing back here in nostalgia.
Yeah. So I don't really think that tanks have playmaking vision, but Sokolov certainly does. And it's been really impressive to see him kind of utilize that well. There have been a couple moments this season where he's sprung guys for 2-on-1s or found really tiny seams on the power play that have really impressed me. And it's good to see that kind of part of his game develop under Troy Mann and Belleville there. I don't think his skating ever gets too much better than what it is right now. So it's a lot about developing what he can do further than trying to fix the parts that are maybe subpar.
All right. Moving on to keys to the weekend. In the 7 games these two have played so far this season, the team that has scored first has won each game. And I think I remember you saying that Belleville's 1-6 against Toronto.
Correct.
Yeah. So that goes to tell you that Toronto has scored first 6 out of 7 times. There you go. But Sean, enough about that. What are the keys for each team to win one or both games this weekend?
Well, I mean, number one for both teams is score first, obviously, then. But for Belleville specifically, they need to win that first period. As we said above, getting on the board first is important, but Toronto has owned the first period in these 7 matchups this far. Outshooting, outscoring, and outchancing the Sens in 5 of those 7 first periods. So if Belleville is going to make a go of this game, they need to not only score the first goal, but they need to win that first period if they don't score the first goal. If they're going to go into a tie game at the end of the first, it needs to be one where they played their game and set the tempo and set the style of how the rest of this game is going to be played. Second is they have to get the power play going. Belleville is 1 for 28 on power play in games against the Marlies this season. That is bad. They need to make that be at least 2 for something. They need to get on the board when shorthanded, because if they're not, it's really going to be an uphill battle. For Toronto, keep your foot on the gas. This hasn't been a problem for Toronto against Belleville, but it has for other teams against Belleville. They'll let Belleville hang around in games where they're out shooting and out chancing the B-Sens, but are tied or hold a 1-goal lead. They let Belleville hang around. And Belleville has won countless games this season in that fashion of just hanging around and, coming through in the clutch. The Marlies have by and large played a full 60 minutes against the Belleville Senators this season, but there is no reason for them to stop doing that now. So if they are up, don't take your foot off the gas. Keep playing, because Belleville will beat you if you let them hang around.
All right. It's time for our picks. I know Sean's big on Lunch Pail Belleville, but for me personally, I am going to say that the Marlies, I know they haven't played a whole bunch, got those 11 days off and everything, but I think they keep the train rolling, and picking Marlies sweeps, I think, has worked out pretty well for me this year. And so that's what I'm going to do. The guy who rarely picks sweeps has picked 2 in a row, both in the Atlantic Division and the North Division. I'm going to say Marlies take the weekend.
For me, attendance capacities have been raised in both cities, which means fans in the building, or in some cases, in Belleville's case, more fans in the building. To me, that says home ice advantage. Give me that home cooking. Belleville Friday, Toronto Saturday.
There we go. And what does the model have to say, Sean?
The model is mostly on my side, but as we've said, it's kind of hard for the model to pick splits. Toronto is a favorite in both, but by different margins. On Friday, they are a 50.9% favorite, so basically a coin flip. On Saturday, though, at home, they're a more substantial favorite. Toronto is a 53.4% favorite Saturday in the Coca-Cola Coliseum Center Arena. I don't remember.
Coca-Cola Coliseum. Yep.
That's what I thought. I wasn't positive, though.
All right. Well, that does it for our Eastern Conference previews. Say that. Yeah, having a little hard time saying that word today. But hey, we're going to take a break. And after this brief respite, we're going to get to Grand Rapids and Rockford. We're going to jump over to the Central Division and the Western Conference. If you're just here for Toronto and Belleville, though, we do want to thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you can get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media. Links to our social meds, as the kids say these days, as well as links to our YouTube channel and popular podcast links can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. After these messages, we'll be right back. Yeah. Okay, we have covered the two series out of both of the divisions in this Eastern Conference. And now we're heading over to the Western Conference. We are going to be talking about the Grand Rapids Griffins versus the Rockford Ice Hogs. Two mythical creatures facing off against each other, because I don't think an ice hog exists.
Yeah.
Ice hog? I've never heard of an ice hog.
I just assume it's a pig like an angry pig on the ice, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess. Okay. Well, one mythical creature against a questionably mythical creature this weekend. Saturday at the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan, 7 Eastern. Sunday back at the BMO Center at Rockford in Rockford, Illinois, 4 Central. Pretty close there, Eastern time and Central time. So, Grand Rapids, let's talk about them. They have split each of their last 3 series, which is an improvement over how January went for them, which wasn't very good, if you catch my drift there. What do the Griffins need to do to take a step forward and start sweeping these weekend series instead of just taking one game and losing one game?
A common theme for them has been starting hot. In the games they've won, they've outshot and outchanced teams in the first period, and that set the tone, set the pace for the rest of the games. It's kind of hard to sleepwalk through the remainder of a game if you started the first period doing the right things. First period in the win against Ontario, outshot the Reign 23-10, outchanced them 14-5. First period in the win against Iowa, outshot Iowa 14-9, outchanced them 7-3. First period win against Texas, outshot Texas 13-6, outchanced Texas 4-3. The other kind of recipe for their wins has been winning the special teams battle. Against Iowa, they scored a power play goal, killed both penalties on Thursday, won 4-3. Against Iowa on Friday, they gave up 2 power play goals, scored none, lost 6-1. Against Ontario on Friday, they gave up 3 power play goals and only scored 1. They lost 5-2. Saturday, they killed off all 7 penalties, scored a power play goal. They won 5-3. So between those two, those are kind of a mix and match of what has been going well for them and what they haven't done in those losses. So that would be kind of where I would focus practice, is making sure we're better at starting off hot, getting our game going from puck drop to final whistle, and making sure our special teams are clicking.
Sean, talking about the individual skaters here for the Griffins, there hasn't been a lot of positives for Grand Rapids this season, especially for a developing team that has so many prospects outside the AHL. Only McIsaac, Cibrengo, Veleno, and Bergrion are the Red Wings prospects on the roster. We've talked about the others in depth already in previous episodes, so let's dive into Yonatan Bergrion. He's second on the Griffins in points with 12 goals, 21 assists for 33 total points in 41 games played. The model grades him in the 76th percentile as a second line forward. And Sean, from what you've witnessed with him playing on the ice, what does the eye test tell you?
There are a lot of positive elements to his game, but I've been most impressed by his poise under pressure. You don't see a lot of 21-year-olds that have that in their first AHL campaign, but that's probably because he's been playing at a pro level in the SHL for some time now. Even still, you don't see the same level of physicality or pressure in the SHL that you do the AHL because of the difference in rink size. For those who don't know, the Swedish Hockey League plays on an Olympic-sized rink where the rink is 15 feet wider and has 3 feet more room behind the net. That much extra space makes a very big difference because it means I can run away from defenders much more effectively with all that extra ice. Still, you see a lot of young players in the AHL get pressured along the wall or in transition, and they respond with safe plays, get pucks deep, make passes to the point, or teammates who are open but aren't necessarily in a better position to score or move the puck. And for the most part, that's fine. A lot of it is about adjusting to pace and physicality, not necessarily, enhancing the condition of the puck. That's not Bergrion, though. He'll hold on to pucks, draw defenders to him, then use that space to create space for his teammates and get them the puck where they are in better position to score. Bergrion's playmaking abilities here pair well with his puck skills. It's one thing to see your teammates open across the rink. It's another thing entirely to be able to thread that needle onto their tape through traffic. Bergrion can do both and isn't limited by factors like, is he on his forehand or backhand? Most guys are significantly less accurate passers on their backhand. Bergrion really isn't. Are there sticks in the way? Most guys are significantly less accurate saucering passes. Bergrion really isn't. Can he execute this pass inside motion, or does he need to stop, control, do a couple stick handles before he can make a pass? Most guys struggle with this. Bergrion typically doesn't. And we talked about before how NHL players can stack skills on top of each other to turn one small advantage into a big advantage that they can whack guys over the head with metaphorically. Mm-hmm. Most AHLers can't do that, but that's what Bergrion does here. He stacks poise, playmaking vision, puck skills on top of each other to turn several small edges into one big one. That's what separates him from the rest, and that's why he has a very clear path to the NHL.
And I will say, covering the Grand Rapids and Manitoba series, a number of games back, I'll have to look. It was in mid-January. Covering those Manitoba games, Bergrion, he had an overtime game-winning goal. And he's potted a couple more game-winning goals, and they're proper game-winning goals in like 1-goal games where his goal was the deciding factor. And in the 4 overtime games that Grand Rapids has won, not the shootouts, but the actual overtime games that they've closed it out, 3 of those overtime game winners has come off the stick of Bergrion. So he kind of has that clutch gene as well. It's like he'll show up at the end of the game and
Bayless clutch gene. I will say, I do think his time in the SHL probably lends itself a little bit better to the bigger rink, more space, 3-on-3, same rink size, but less guys, more ice to control. And the SHL definitely has more of a possession-like feel that you see in 3-on-3 overtime, where guys will come back out of the offensive zone and cycle back and work their way through. You see that kind of concept or that style more in Sweden and in Europe than you do here in the US, because bigger rink, more space, possession is more valuable. So him excelling in those moments, as well as just being really, really skilled, giving him more time and space is always going to work to his advantage. So not terribly surprising, but yeah, that is a cool stat. Clutch gene. Skip.
Nice. Well played. All right. Well, let's go over to Rockford. They are on a 4-game win streak, including a weekend sweep of the Chicago Wolves. Holy crow. I know they've been trading W's with Chicago back and forth all year, but a weekend sweep of one of the best teams in the AHL, at least the best team in your division. That's nothing to trifle with, for sure. In those 4 games, the Ice Hogs PK has outscored the opposing power plays 1-0. Wow. What's been their secret to this penalty kill success recently, Sean?
I mean, the secrets of a good penalty kill are really not all that secrets. It's basically boils down to 4 things. Number 1, forecheck well. Number 2, be aggressive and put pressure on puck carriers in the zone. I have a whole Twitter thread about, doesn't it look bad when you get scored on when you just stared at the guy who scored at you? 3rd, be looking for opportunities to generate offense while shorthanded, because when you are able to threaten offense, you cause the power play problems of how much they're able to chase pucks and pressure. And 4th, your goaltender needs to be your best penalty killer. It's an old adage and kind of a tired cliche, but that doesn't make it not true. The Ice Hogs have all of those things. They play a 1-1-2 forecheck in the neutral zone when shorthanded. What that means is you'll see the first forechecker when they clear the puck, they go down, the other team's starting to break it out. That first forechecker goes all the way into the zone, and his goal is to basically herd the play to one side. Then that second guy is there to kind of cut off the middle while that first guy transitions to covering the drop pass. And then basically they're trying to just funnel him into a choke point at the blue line where one of those defenders is at the blue line. The other forward is kind of closing the walls in like they're in a trash compactor on the Death Star. So that's kind of how the 1-1-2 works. And that can be great. It's a good forechecking system, but any forechecking system is only as good as its skaters who execute it and understand it. And Rockford has been on it recently. Their penalty killers understand the concepts. They utilize them well. And that's not true of, every team who uses that forecheck. We've covered it recently about teams who use the 1-1-2 but don't seem to really grasp what it's doing. They're also aggressive in their version of the check press and anticipate well, so they're not caught napping when the puck moves around the perimeter quickly and they're out of place at a shooting lane. That doesn't happen. They do a good job of seeing the play ahead of time, getting into shooting lanes along the half wall. And this seems like a newer development to me, but the Ice Hogs are definitely looking to spring guys for scoring chances shorthanded, utilize that power kill, and are making breakout passes, joining the rush instead of just sky hooking the puck down the ice when they get a turnover and getting off and going for a change. That's an important distinction to make because many players will just default to a play that won't get them benched. Anytime you can get a clear on the penalty kill, no coach is ever going to scream at you for doing that. That's, the default play, and it's a safe play. But taking that extra second, picking your head up, trying to find an outlet to start a rush chance shorthanded, that's something you don't see a lot of guys do because they just make the safe play, don't get in trouble. So to see Rockford making distinct efforts to do that is impressive. And number 4, your goalie has to be your best penalty killer. Colin Delia and Arvid Soderblom have been the backbone of this team pretty much the entire season. And shocker, they do a good job of keeping it locked down when they're shorthanded, just like they do 5-on-5. And just like 5-on-5, the Ice Hogs do a good job of keeping their environment clean in front of their goaltender. They're covering backdoor passing lanes. They're getting in shooting lanes. They're making sure their goalie can just focus on the shooter and not have to worry about a bunch of traffic or secondary threats to distract them from what the shooter is doing.
All right. We mentioned a few individual players, but they were in goal. Someone who doesn't get a lot of love or recognition on the Ice Hogs is Evan Barrett. He's got 6 goals and 8 assists, 14 total points in 35 games. The model has him at the 40th percentile with a 4th line forward grade. Sean, I have a feeling that you may see more in him than meets the eye, or meets the stat sheet rather. Besides your obvious Penn State alumni bias, putting its thumb on the scale here. Self-admitted. It's not like there's no illusions there, but what do you see in Sean Barrett? Or Evan Barrett. Sorry, you're Sean. He's Evan.
I mean, I think that's an important note, too. I'm a card-carrying member of the Penn State Alumni Association. I'm biased towards liking Evan Barrett for the outstanding college career he had playing there. That doesn't go away just because I try real hard. I have a master's degree in social psychology. That's not how bias works.
No.
So if you want to take my analysis here with a grain of salt, I'd only recommend adding a lime and some tequila. Regardless, I see NHL traits in him, but not in the way that most people think of NHL caliber players in the AHL. Rocco Grimaldi is an NHL caliber player. Scott Perunovich is an NHL caliber player. Lucas Reichel is an NHL caliber player. And their play makes it really obvious that they don't belong here. I don't belong here. Their strength is through high-end offense. And while Barrett is a much more adept playmaker than his point totals would indicate, his strength in my viewing is more his game in the defensive end as well as off puck. I really like what he brings defensively, as well as his ability to read the play and find soft ice inside, as well as drive play to the inside. Defensively, I think he does a good job of checking over his shoulder, making sure he knows where everyone is, getting his stick in passing lanes, getting in shooting lanes, doing a lot of those fundamental things. And above all, hustling. Half of good defensive play at the professional level is not knowing what to do. It's wanting to expend the energy to do it. Because hockey is a very exhaustive sport. That's why guys only play for 40 seconds. So you only have so much energy in those 40 seconds that you can expend. Using it on defense is not what a lot of higher end offensive players do. And they can get away with it because they score a bunch of goals. But Evan Barrett doesn't, and he chooses to use that energy for defensive purposes. I don't think he's ever going to light the score sheet on fire, but there's enough there for me to believe he could fill a bottom 6 role in the NHL as a penalty killer, a checking line, energy role, who maybe chips in a goal or an assist here and there. And there are a lot of guys in the NHL right now who fit that same profile, who didn't light the world on fire in the AHL as a, close to a point a game producer. Joe Kiviranta in Dallas, Michael McCarron in Nashville, Trent Frederick in Boston, Zach Aston Reese in Pittsburgh. They all have at least a similar profile that's in the ballpark of what Evan Barrett has done so far. And that leads me to think that there is a path for him to be a bottom six NHLer for sure. But his skating still needs work, and he needs, most importantly, a coach to take a shot on him. Now, perhaps, having known him in Rockford, the Blackhawks coach sees him that way, but maybe he doesn't. There's still some runway left on his current deal to make that happen. But I could see Evan Barrett in the NHL in the future, just not maybe in the flashy role that we think of as AHL players in the NHL.
Gosh, that list you just ran through with those four guys, it's like having an Obi-Wan Kenobi flashback. Those are names I haven't heard in the AHL in a long time. So maybe not that long, but anyway, familiar names, just not at the AHL level anymore. It's time to pivot to the keys of the weekend. For Grand Rapids, what do they got to do to take 1 or 2 games against Rockford?
I mean, we said it in the team takeaways. Win the first period, win the special teams battle. That's what has powered Grand Rapids to wins in their weekend series in the past 6 games. And when they haven't done it, they've by and large not won those games. So I see no reason to try and vary from that strategy. What's working for them is working for them. They just need to do it more often. For the Ice Hogs, the strategy remains the same. Get a lead early, lock it down. They're one of the best teams in the league at locking down late leads and winning low-scoring, low-event, kind of 2-1, 3-2 kind of games. They've gotten away from that a little bit recently. They've put up a couple of 6-5 games, some wild ones. But I think if I'm them, I want to get back to our bread and butter, which is, put 1 or 2 goals on the board and then lock it down in front of your goalie and make sure he has an easy time and close out the game like that.
Alrighty. Time for our picks. I think oh, you smell that? It smells like home cooking, actually. I think I'm gonna pick Grand Rapids in Grand Rapids on Saturday, and then I'm also going to pick Rockford in Rockford on Sunday. So that's who I've got. How about you?
This Ice Hogs team really has me starting to think that they're more than just a, hanger on in the Central Division. I'm going to go for a sweep here for Rockford. I'm starting to believe in this team just a little bit, which is terrifying because I've only known them as being awful. So
yeah.
The idea that they're, starting to put some momentum together and get going here is a little weird for me, but I'm going to take the Ice Hogs sweep here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The model is at least mostly on my side. It has Rockford as a favorite in both games by different margins. They are a 51.3% favorite on Saturday and a 53.7% favorite on Sunday.
All righty. Well, that'll do it for the Central, yeah?
Yeah, we are going to take a break here, and after the break, we will get to Colorado and Abbotsford. If you're just here for Grand Rapids and Rockford, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe so you get episodes in a timely fashion. That way you can hear us right away on Tuesday morning when we break this weekend down for both Grand Rapids and Rockford. Also check us out on social media where we do the memes and have a bunch of fun. Links to all of that and more can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to pay some bills, run some ads. We'll be right back.
We are on our last series preview, weekend series preview. We're going to head to the Pacific Division and tackle a series that I'm actually going to be at, or at least the first game there on Saturday. Abbotsford at Colorado, the first ever Abbotsford Canucks versus Colorado Eagles games in the history of the AHL. I wanted to make that sound a little more momentous and epic than maybe it was. But anyway, Eagles versus Canucks, Saturday, 7:05 Mountain, and Sunday, 3:05 Mountain in Loveland, Colorado. Got to love those 05s once again, making an appearance just for Sean O'Brien.
I really want to know if we ever, and he'll never come on this show, but if we ever get the AHL commissioner on the show, I want to ask him about that. Or, I can't think of her name. The
scheduling gal?
Yeah, the vice president of hockey ops. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she makes the schedule. So I'm curious as to why the 05s. Like, I really want to know what you're gaining.
Haley Moore.
Haley Moore.
Yes. Yeah, that would be a good question for Haley for sure.
Yeah. Granddaughter of Mary Tyler Moore. So,
Hey, there you go.
That's what I like to call a completely made up fact. That's not true at all.
Yes. 60% of the time, it works 100% of the time.
All right. Let's talk hockey here. The Eagles have struggled this season on special teams, in particular on the power play. They are 22nd in the league in net power play percentage, which is odd given that they're 9th in goals per game in the AHL. You'd think that logically they'd be able to score goals on the power play. That has not been the case, though. So, Cece, recently, what have you seen that has been wrong with the Eagles' power play, and what should they be trying to do to fix it?
Well, I'll tell you, Sean, the biggest issue for their power play is setting up after a zone entry. The Eagles use a good mix of zone entry plays. It gives them the versatility, makes them hard to defend against because they can use 3 or 4 different plays to gain the zone. The problem is, though, that they're gaining the zone, but failing in the moments between them crossing the blue line with possession and setting up in their standard 1-3-1 formation. They're kind of bungling it in between zone entry and getting their scheme set up. It almost looks like in practice, their zone entry drills stop as soon as they gain the zone. And that's probably not the case, but that's how it appears because in the moments in between are when they're getting pressured and don't seem to understand where to go with the puck. Either that lack of structure in the entry play to continue forward or that lack of understanding by the players is what appears to be killing them. No pun intended. We're not talking about penalty kills. Well, I guess we are because the other team sure is having a good time doing that. But yeah, it's killing them because that's where turnovers are happening and teams are getting defensive zone clears. They're killing off those penalties a lot easier than they should. It's not the entry. It's not the power play structure itself. It's those moments in between. Because when they do gain the zone and they do set up, I can confirm they are generating chances. And, guys like Kiefer Sherwood and Dylan Sekura, they are converting on those chances. But it's taking them, minute 30 of the 2-minute power play to get to that point. And that's what's really killing the efficiency of the Eagles' power play because instead of a full, 120 seconds of power play, they're really limiting themselves to only 30, 45 seconds at the most because they're losing that time and trying to get set up and those zone clears by the defense and everything.
And that's such a weird place to fail too, or to be coming up short because most teams, it's either an entry, a structure, or like a personnel thing. And in this case, it's none of them. That's a very very minute observation there, Cece. But let's talk about individuals here. And one that has definitely been doing some work on the power play, that's rookie defenseman Justin Barron. 4 goals, 13 assists for 17 total points this year in 32 games played. He boasts an 82.84% rating among defensemen this year, which is good for a first pairing defenseman grade by the model. What have you seen from him in his play this year?
Well, I actually got to interview Justin after the Henderson game where Logan Thompson went off for 46 saves or something like that because the Eagles, they put the puck on the net. As you know, their shots per game are top 5 always in the AHL, but got to talk with him a little bit. He had the benefit of being paired with Eagles captain and AHL all-around stud blue liner Jacob Mcdonald. He had the benefit of getting paired with Mcdonald, and Barron said that Mcdonald really helped slow the game down for him and that the chemistry with him was pretty good. Unfortunately, Mcdonald kind of got bounced up and down between the Avs and the Eagles in December, and he then headed to the IR with a now confirmed head injury, which just came out a couple days ago in mid-December, and he's been skating with the Avs. Kind of a sidebar here. Mcdonald has been skating. He shedded his non-contact jersey a few days ago, so look for him to return either to Loveland or maybe as a 7th defenseman there up in Denver or down in Denver if we're going location-wise. Anyway, with Mcdonald out, Barron has been paired with Keaton Middleton on the second pairing, which has been okay. You've got Dennis Gilbert and Jordan Gross as your 1-2 defensive and offensive defenseman punches in the first pairing. Roland McCune and Andreas Englund are your muscle on the third pairing. Middleton and Barron are right where you want them in parking at number 2 there. Skill-wise, one of Barron's major strengths is his skating, and he uses it effectively to move the puck down the ice. His defense stands out too, being able to take skaters man-to-man on the offensive side of the puck as well. His puck possession and tape-to-tape acumen are just manifested attributes of his hockey IQ. He is a fantastic two-way defenseman. He does skate out over his toe caps a little bit when he shifts from, standing upright to more of a pursuit mode. But again, that hockey IQ, the puck possession, the tape-to-tape passing, those three were actually critiqued as below NHL average at the start of this season. But now that we're, beyond the halfway point, he seems to have shored that up. He's trending in the right direction. His projections are actually coming in around the top 4 when it comes to NHL defensemen. So, I mean, this has been a real kind of revelatory, it's been a revelation for him this year. He's really improved all of his skills that I mentioned, that trifecta skills right there. And, pairing him with some vets and letting him marinate in the AHL. I mean, obviously, when you've got young guys like Cale Makar and Bo Byram, when he's healthy, having those young defensemen up there, he can marinate in the AHL. And that's the best course of action for the Avs at this point. The Eagles continue to reap the benefits of a really good two-way contributor. And it doesn't hurt that he gets to chip in on the special teams as well.
I think too, when, getting paired with Keaton Middleton after Jacob McDonald went out, that's a big shift for him too, and what he's being asked to do.
Sure.
Jacob McDonald's an offensive guy. He even plays forward on occasion when they need a body up there. He's someone who likes to get the puck on a stick and move with it. So when you're paired with him, you're not asked to carry the load. You can just kind of hand the puck to Jacob McDonald and let him, go do Jacob McDonald things. When you're paired with Keaton Middleton, you can't do that. You are going to be responsible for moving the puck from the back end in transition, because Keaton Middleton is not that guy.
No.
So that is like an interesting kind of shift for him, not just from who his partner is, but what his role in that partnership has been, where he could allow Jacob McDonald to carry the mail and do more of the heavy lifting in transition and on offense. But when you get paired with Keaton Middleton, you're going to be asked to do more now. And that's, kind of a trial by fire for him. And it looks like he's doing pretty well with it.
Yeah. Like I said, McDonald helped slow the game down for him. So being paired with him, one of the best defensemen in the AHL, period, not just on the Eagles, not just in the Pacific or the Western Conference, period. And obviously the stats back that up. So being paired with him, not having to carry as much of the load before going to Middleton, definitely helped him out.
Let's change sides here.
Yes.
It's enough about the Eagles and your home market there. Let's talk Canucks.
Let's talk Abby Nucks. Abbotsford, they are on a 5-game winning streak. Like you mentioned in the Central Division preview, they just completely walloped the Manitoba Moose this past weekend. And they found their offensive game putting up 5+ goals in 4 of those 5 games. By the way, since we are covering the Eagles, Sheldon Dries has now moved into the league lead in goals. I believe he has 24. So former Eagles forward Sheldon Dries balling out with Abbotsford. I think there's another Eagles player playing for Ontario. Oh, TJ Tynan. He's got something like 45 assists or something this season. So you have former Eagles players leading goals and assists in the Pacific Division. And Colorado's stupid. Anyway.
First meeting too with against his old club in Colorado. Sheldon Dries is going to put one in this weekend. At least one. I don't know if you can bet player props on the AHL, but this is the anytime goal scorer free money button.
This was the OBJ of the Super Bowl prop bet.
That's mean. Don't bring that up. That's mean.
Did you lose money? I'm sorry.
No, I made money on the Super Bowl overall, but that OBJ prop, he was there and whatever. Knees are
anyway.
Dumb.
Back to the Abby Nucks. We're talking about their offensive prowess, Sheldon Dries and everyone else. What has been the secret sauce up there in Abbotsford, BC?
I mean, a lot of it has been the depth they've gotten back since Taxi Squad Death Day. There were games when the Abby Nucks were playing 2 men down, playing forwards at defense. John Stevens was a first-line center. There were ECHLers on the back end, or filling out the back of the lineup. Jared Lukavicius was in the second line. The bottom pair was Devontae Stevens and Matt Murphy, meaning that Devontae Stevens is playing his offhand side, which is far from ideal. Now, Stevens is playing center in the third line. There are top 6 guys who are mostly borderline NHLers. And when Jet Wu returns, the D will have 6 solid or better AHL defensemen. The offense is also doing a great job of generating rush chances and finishing them, whether that's through stretch passes from the defensive zone through the neutral zone, forcing turnovers and immediately looking up ice to transition, beating that first forechecker and creating imbalances that way, or breaking up plays in the neutral zone and looking to counterattack. And we've talked about in the past and in episode 0 how valuable rush chances are. Odd man rushes make up about 1.8% of all offensive possession time in hockey, but odd man rushes make up 18% of the goals scored. So they are incredibly valuable. And it's a huge advantage to be able to generate more odd man rushes. And that's what the Abbotsford Canucks are doing right now. And that's what they're having success doing. Part of that, too, is having good puck movers on the back end.
All right. We've talked about the team as a whole. Let's talk about the players individually. The reigning AHL Player of the Week, Jack Rathbone, has maybe been the hottest player in the AHL right now. The model grades him in the 99th percentile with a top AHL defenseman grade. I mean, would you expect anything less with the 99th percentile? That's pert near the top. The model grades him real high. Unfortunately, he was stretchered off the ice after a hit from behind by Colton Sevior in Wednesday's game against Bakersfield. An update this morning said he was released from the hospital and is traveling with the team, which is always a good sign. It's always scary when players get hit and get carried off the ice on the stretcher. I didn't take time to actually see the hit, but Sean, what did you think of the hit, and what are the Abbotsford Canucks losing rather in Jack Rathbone if he misses time, be it a short or extended period?
First things first, really hope Jack Rathbone is okay.
Right.
I'm glad to hear he was released from the hospital and traveling with the team. That's really surprising to me, given what happened, but still very good news. That was a painful hit to watch. And I'm not positive of this. I don't know Colton Sevior's game that well. He hasn't been in the AHL for a while and is kind of a bottom 6 forward throughout the league for the past couple of years. So not someone that's directly on my radar. But I don't think this type of play is a regular part of Colton Sevior's game. He's physical, sure, but he's not known for doing this kind of thing like Tom Wilson, Raffi Torres, Matt Cook, that kind of thing. Maybe he's trying to do a little bit more after being sent to the AHL for the first time in 8 years. Regardless, this hit is dirty. Not necessarily that he made contact, but because you can make hits in those spots, that isn't the problem because that happens all the time. But it's more like you bump the defenseman going back for the puck there. So in case he tries to stop and make a play and do something different than just a rim around, you make some contact with them and you can reevaluate at that moment. But that's not what happened. He saw Rathbone's numbers the entire way and was still taking strides right up to the goal line and never pumped the brakes, never pulled up at all before making contact. That's something that a veteran of 940 NHL or professional hockey games who plays a physical game 100% knows better than to do. And yet here we are. That's unacceptable. And I wouldn't be shocked if the AHL levied at least a little bit of supplemental discipline here. I certainly would if I were in charge of that kind of thing. To me, that's a minimum 5-game suspension with a range for a lot more. I don't think Sevier has a history of this, but again, I'm willing to be wrong. I'm not positive of that. But I also kind of don't care. He absolutely knows better than that and did it anyway. And that's the kind of thing that needs to be removed from the game. I'm much more of a disciplinarian than the AHL or NHL will ever be. So me thinking I'd give him 10 games there without breaking a sweat doesn't really matter. Because neither the AHL or the NHL will ever do that because the Players Association would appeal it and immediately, maybe not immediately, but likely get it reduced significantly. And that's problematic because the PA represents both the player doing the crime here as well as the victim. But that's a discussion for another time. More significantly here, with Rathbone looking like he's going to miss at least some time, the Canucks are losing a lot. I, for one, love Rathbone's game. Watching Rathbone play, though he's someone you can immediately tell does not belong here. Most guys have one NHL level skill that they kind of mold their game around, leveraging that and finding ways to make that one skill impact the game, whether that's shooting, skating, playmaking, physicality, whatever. Rathbone has at least 2, maybe 3. Let's start with his skating. It's nothing short of phenomenal. Rarely do you see guys have the kind of speed and edge work he does and make it look so effortless. Even when Connor McDavid is going fast, he looks like he is trying to go fast. Jack Rathbone doesn't. He just kind of effortlessly glides around the ice at top speed. It's really ridiculous. But he uses that skating ability well, too, as he's able to evade forechecking pressure with his feet and jumpstart transition all by himself. And he can do that with his skating or with his NHL-level playmaking vision. Quite simply, Jack Rathbone can ball in a way that's uncommon for AHL defenders to be able to do so because he really isn't an AHL defender. He gets stuck down here and kind of got yo-yoed a little bit in Vancouver earlier on this season and early last season. And then weirdly, after Bim Jennings got fired, that stopped. But
go ahead.
As I say, you also don't see a lot of those abilities in AHL defenders because the ones that can do it don't stay in the AHL very long.
So back to the hit. I watched the video a number of times while you were describing it. And you would think that the Bakersfield defender, and I'm forgetting how to pronounce his last name. It's Sevier.
Colton Sevier.
Colton Sevier. Yeah, there you go. Colton Sevier, like, you see the numbers up against the board, you're supposed to pull back. Or at least you're supposed to, play the puck and not just rail the guy into the boards.
Yeah.
And Cody was Cody Sievertson, friend of the program, the Crease Cast, the Canucks Harvest, he pointed out that like people were like, oh, why didn't his teammates respond to that dirty hit? He went down the ice. They were turned to play the puck. And I mean, what are you supposed to do? It was a boarding penalty. Like it was a boarding penalty at the best. And obviously he crumpled to the ice real bad. Real quick. It was bad. So it was obviously, I'm in agreement with you there. Now that I've watched the clip, is that I do believe he should serve some games as a suspension. Yeah.
I mean, given that the AHL hasn't released anything as of, 10/17 Thursday evening here, I will refresh their page one more time. Nope. Still no announcement from the AHL. I think it becomes increasingly unlikely that they serve any supplemental discipline, which is ridiculous. And again, the problem with that hit is not that he made contact. Making contact in those moments is not uncommon, nor do I think it's terribly wrong, but you have to pull up. You can't just go flying in with the same speed to hit that dude. That's dangerous. But like trying to pin him to the wall or give him like a, 25% of that speed bump is completely fine, because if he does go to play the puck, you then made contact and engage with him and can start, playing hockey there. But he just does not pull up, doesn't stop, just goes full speed right into the numbers. And that's unacceptable. And it's like I said, as someone who is a longtime veteran of professional hockey who plays a physical game, that's something better than. Like this isn't a 22-year-old fresh out of the OHL, 20-year-old fresh out of the OHL who's too dumb to know any better. That's not what's going on here.
Right.
Colton Sevier should get supplemental discipline from that, but he's not going to in all likelihood. And that's ridiculous.
That is. All right, let's move on to keys of the weekend. I'll take the Eagles, of course. And I would say that they need to win the first period. The Abby Nucks are 1-11 in games where they trail after one period of play. And that goes to 0-7 when they're on the road. So the first period is crucial for setting the tone and playing a solid game. And I think, in one of those games against Bakersfield that Colorado had earlier in the month here in February, I think Bakersfield scored 3 goals in the first period. So, definitely try to limit that, if not completely eliminate it, and emerge from that beginning stanza of play with the lead.
For the Canucks, I say you embrace the tempo and look to counterattack. The Eagles are no strangers to playing with pace and generating rush chances. And that's an area where the Canucks are finding success recently. If the Eagles want to play this high event, high tempo hockey this weekend, I think the Abby Nucks should jump on board and look to counterattack. Have poise on your blue line. Look to break up plays in the neutral zone and then quickly turn those around to counterattack. So get the puck back, shoot it, like have your wingers, take curls around, regroup through the neutral zone and go right back to it. The Abby Nucks have been finding success on rush chances recently. They've been doing a good job of generating more rush chances. We just talked about how valuable those are. So if the Eagles want to, play back and forth north-south hockey, I say, get on board and do that, but you should look to counterattack.
Okay. With all of that said, it is time for us to choose our picks of this series. For me, the Eagles, Eustace Anunin has been missing in action the past 4 games. So you've got Hunter Miska that started a couple games, Trent Miner that started a couple games, and they've got to be warmed up by now. Miska had only played 3 games in 2021 altogether, and Trent Miner is still a rookie goaltender. So, they've got to be warmed up by now. With that said, I'm going to pick Abbotsford on Saturday, and then I'm going to go with Colorado on Sunday.
For me, Abbotsford is hot right now, and the Eagles are just kind of lukewarm. I'm going to take the Nucks in a sweep.
Wow, road sweep too. Okay. What's the model say?
The model has Abbotsford as a 52.1% favorite in both games. So me and the model, we're like this weekend.
I guess so. All right. Well, that's it for our weekend recaps, as it were. So
previews.
Thank you. We're recapping some previews. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. Thank you. Let's take a break, shall we? Apparently I need one because I'm mixing things up. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to take a break here. After the break, we will get to the speed round where CC and I drop acid and make funny noises. Or we pick all the games to the weekend. I guess you'll have to stay tuned and find out. If you're just here for Colorado and Abbotsford, thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you can get the recap for this weekend on Tuesday morning when it comes out. Also, check us out on social media. Links to all of that and more can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to pay some bills, run some ads. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Okay, we are on the home stretch here. We're in the last segment of our show. Sean, get limbered up, but I did forget to tell the fans at home about our picks last episode. I was remiss, so I will cover that this week. Last weekend's pick'ems, February 11th through 13th, after a 3-week losing streak, Mr. Sean O'Brien, with all the O'Brien maniacs, doesn't roll off your tongue like Hulkamaniacs, but Sean O'Brien takes the weekend with authority. Shawnee went 19 of 29 for a 65.5% positive pick rate. I came in at a dismal 12 of 29, 41.4%. Wah, wah, wah. Sean takes the weekend. The model kept up with Sean, coming in at the exact same clip, 19 of 29. I was kind of keeping tally here. I'm like, man, Sean and the model are like step and step here. It's kind of weird. 19 for 29, 65.5% positive pick rate for the model. Overall for the season, Sean is 164 of 317, 51.7% positive pick rate. I'm 150 of 286. That's because I missed a week, 52.4%. And the model, of course, continues to win. The machines continue to beat us. 156 of 289, 54% correct pick rate. So there you go. All right, enough about previous weeks. Let's talk about this week, and let's get in the blocks and gear up because it is time for the speed round. Bakersfield and Stockton, Saturday at Baco, Sunday at Stockton. I say a split here. Stockton on Saturday, Baco on Sunday. Sean.
I don't believe in Bakersfield yet. Give me Stockton in the sweep.
Okay. Cleveland at Charlotte, Saturday and Sunday. If Cleveland could steal one from Utica, I say Charlotte takes Saturday and Cleveland on Sunday.
Jed Greaves is no longer in Hasek mode. Charlotte in both.
Iowa at Chicago, Saturday and Sunday. A lot of Saturday-Sunday matchups. 2 tough teams here. I'm going to say Iowa on Saturday and Chicago on Sunday.
I got to believe the Wolves get something done here. I'll take the Wolves to sweep.
Okay. Henderson at Tucson, Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to say split seats. Henderson on Saturday, Tucson on Sunday. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Come on.
We've seen a lot of Mr. Hyde recently, so I'm going to keep that train rolling. Give me Henderson.
Oh, a lot of sweeps. Henderson at Providence, Friday and Sunday. Games on Saturday are against different opponents, but I guess you could call this a series. I'm going to go Providence sweep here.
It's an Oreo series. I'm going to take a split here. I'm going to take Hershey Friday, then the Bruins on Sunday.
Ontario and San Diego, Saturday at San Diego, Sunday at Ontario. Reign sweep the proper weekend, in my opinion.
I'm going to take a split here. I'm going to say goals on Sunday.
Okay. San Jose at Texas, Saturday and Sunday. Texas gets it right this weekend, especially against a rough Barracuda squad. Sweep.
Texas two-step. They sweep.
Friday, Laval at Syracuse. I'm going to say Syracuse. Home cooking.
Laval seems to, reserve their worst games from when I watch them. I'm not going to be watching this one, so I'll take Laval.
Rochester at Utica. Comets.
Comets.
Saturday, Hershey at Bridgeport. Ride the Tiger. You can see Bridgeport stripes, so you know they're clean.
If only their zone exits were clean. Not picking them. Bears.
Fair enough. Providence at Hartford. Wolfpack is back causing mass destruction. That's all I got to say.
They've been letting me down recently. I'm going to pivot here and go Bruins.
Utica at Lehigh Valley. I'm going to venture out and say the Phantoms.
Comets.
Okay. Rochester at Syracuse. Amherst need to right the ship, and I say they do.
I'm taking the Amherst here too. Syracuse still not that good.
Sunday. Hartford at Bridgeport. Cute brass bonanza just because Hartford.
I'm taking Hartford here, yeah.
Awesome. Laval at Rochester. I'm going to say Le Rocket de Laval. Forgive my French accent.
America.
I'll leave it at that. Last one, Milwaukee at Manitoba. Interesting note, beginning of a 3-game setup there, Monday and Wednesday, the other 2 games. Bienvenue à Winnipeg, Milwaukee. It's Moose Night, or it's Meese Night, rather.
Ingram is healthy. I already paid my dues. I'm in. Admirals.
There we go. 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Nice. Well done. Okay. Well, that's it for the show. Thanks for watching and or listening. The Calder Farmstead is a part of the Full Press Radio Network. You can listen to this and several other great hockey, sports, and pro wrestling programs at www.fullpresscoverage.com. Just click the podcast drop-down menu in the top right portion of the website. It's the sound of the list populating, if you're not familiar with that. After you do that, you can enjoy a multitude of programming. And of course, with all of that wonderful programming on the site and in internet's land, we thank you for choosing us here at the Calder Farmstead.
And if you guys are enjoying the Calder Farmstead, please make sure you subscribe so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or Amazon, please rate and review the podcast. Or if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, comment what you thought of the episode. Doing so helps others find the show, and your reviews help us improve it. You can also follow the show on social media at Calder Farmstead on Twitter, at The Calder Farmstead on Instagram and Facebook. Links to all of that and more can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/The Calder Farmstead. Big thanks to Adrian Drake, who made our theme music. You can find him on social media at AD_dysfunction. That's AD_DYSFUNCTION. So we can make music for you too. Cece, where can the people find you?
My name is Cece Hockley. You can find me representing Full Press Hockey on Twitter at FPC_AHL. That is the AHL news account for Full Press Coverage, Full Press Hockey. You can also find me at my personal Twitter account at CCHawk. That's SEESEEHAWK. I've been putting music takes out there, some of my favorite albums and stuff recently. I have not been getting any likes on them. So I'm guessing that's the Twitterverse's way of kind of shadow saying, stay in your lane and stick to hockey. So I'm getting more traction with the Wordle tweets I put out. So maybe I'll stick to Wordle and hockey. I don't know. But anyway, if it keeps me interested, I hope it's not going to be bullshit for you, and maybe give me a little bit of feedback and not just some radio silence, for crying out loud. But hey, you can check out my writing as well on the Full Press Coverage Network, fullpresshockey.com. If you want to do the /AHL or the /AHL, actually, you can find all of our AHL writers there as well. Enough about me and the AHL writing team for Full Press AHL. Shawnee, where can the people find you?
I'm Sean O'Brien. You can find me on Twitter at Sean O'Brien81. That's SEANOBRIEN81. I'm also on Instagram at Sean O'Brien_81. Both are personal accounts, but pretty wildly vary on what they're about. My Twitter is mostly hockey with random musings here and there, dashed in, as well as Gordle scores, because Wordle is for chumps.
Ouch.
My Instagram is mostly pictures of my dog, as well as a running story of my jersey of the day, as I have a ridiculous number of hockey jerseys, and this seemed like a fun way to kind of show them off a little bit. You can find my stats work on my Tableau page. That's all of the PDO things, the model, where these game probabilities and individual takes for players by a thing I program that picks games better than I do. That's where it all lives on my Tableau page. You can find it at bit.ly/data-dump-and-chase. All lowercase, all one word. Cece, take us home.
That will do it for episode number 84. We are closing in on episode number 100 here at the Calder Farmstead. That's going to come, I believe, on April 14th. So hold on to your butts. Yeah, I calculated that. Anyway, that'll do it for episode number 84, though. For Sean O'Brien, I'm CC Hockley. This has been the Calder Farmstead, an AHL podcast. And as always, keep your stick on the ice.